At 24 after the hour, David Adams, president of the Virginia Shooting Sports Association, is with us. David, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Cam.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Hey, you know, Lars is a much better man than I, because I could not do what he does with people on the street. I was driving out to put up my tree stand for deer season today, and I was listening to last night's show on the way out and heard that woman that was talking about Europe and how, you know, they do pretty well without guns, and I just wanted to just scream at her and say, well, then go move to Europe.
Well, you know, it's fascinating to me that you get that response, and you get it a lot. How closely is she paying attention to European criminal courts? I mean, really, do you spend a lot of time discussing the European criminal justice system, ma'am? Do you really know that Europe is doing so much better than the United States? Because it's not. I mean, that's the amazing thing, is that the violent crime rate in England right now is much higher than the violent crime rate in the United States.
Oh yeah, and in most other places where they've banned guns.
Absolutely. So, you know, the trick for Lars is that he actually just tunes them out. As soon as they start talking, he starts mentally humming in his head.
Or whatever he's being paid, he's not being paid enough.
All right, well, let's talk about something that's going on in the Commonwealth of Virginia in Hanover County, where last night the Board of Supervisors decided that they were not going to make any changes to gun and recreational gun ordinances that a lot of people were pretty upset about.
Yeah, you know, and I have to hand it to the Hanover County Board of Supervisors. You know, when this whole thing came up earlier this year, it's a refrain that we're seeing too often around the Commonwealth, where folks are moving into rural communities as there's more development in places like Hanover, which is just about 10 miles north of the city of Richmond. And they come into the country, and then they find out, geez, people actually shoot guns out here. And so they complain about the noise. And Hanover, to their credit, put together what they called a weapons safety committee, and they put some pro-gun people on there, some people that didn't own guns. In fact, one of the guys that owned a range in Hanover County, Casey Young, was one of the folks on that committee. And they put together some proposals, and some of them were good, and there was one proposal, one specifically having to do with a nuisance type of ordinance, and that was not unanimously put before the board. And I have to believe that people like Casey and the other pro-gun folks were the ones that voted against that. But they had a public hearing, and the room was packed with pro-gun folks. Only 4 people spoke in favor of the ordinances. And after about 3 hours of hearing testimony, unanimously the board said, no, we're not going to do this. And Chairman of the board, Bucky Stanley, had been quoted in the newspaper before the meeting saying he wasn't real thrilled about what they were coming to him with.
Wow. Well, that's actually fantastic news. I mean, this is, you know, because we're seeing more and more of this around Virginia in places where, you know, I'm up here in Northern Virginia, and I just have the regional bias, but I don't expect to hear about things like this in Hanover County. But we've heard about things, other similar changes in Cumberland County and in a couple of other counties around Virginia.
Isle of Wight County, just in August, there was a landowner, a farm, owned a fairly large farm, and allowed 5 friends to come out and shoot sporting clays or clay targets out on the property. And there's a developer that owns property adjacent to this farm, and they filed a complaint saying that some of the lead pellets from the shot was falling on their property and was going to devalue it and would cause a problem when they decided to develop it. There were some people that had complained about noise. And so the landowner had to go to the county and get a permit to allow 5 people to shoot clay targets on their property. And that Isle of Wight is in the southeastern part of the state, very rural, more so than Hanover County is. We've seen it in Buena Vista, and we've seen it in Albemarle County, and of course Culpeper. Mm-hmm. You know, counties that are, some of them are developing, some of them are not developing so much, but they have folks that are moving in that aren't generally from areas that they're used to hearing people go out in the backyard and target practice or whatever. The thing about Hanover, though, and this is something that a lot of people probably didn't know, not only was the ordinances that were proposed having to do with shooting firearms, there was also a hunting ordinance that would have required that you could only hunt on acreage of 20 acres or more, and there was also an ordinance where you would not be able to shoot a bow on your private property if it was under a certain acreage. And one of the folks that got up to testify said, look, you know, I just took a tree down last week, and we used a bow to shoot the lines up in the tree before we took the thing down, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if you passed this ordinance tonight. So, it was a wide-ranging set of proposals and something that the board clearly wasn't comfortable with at this point.
Do you think, David, that those in rural Virginia are aware of this encroaching problem and are fighting back?
I think that when it happens and they hear about it, the good thing about Hanover, this is something that had been covered in the newspaper in the area since the beginning of the year. We had sent out alerts about it. There's another pro-gun group in the state that had sent out alerts about it. And so it had been covered well, and gun owners knew what was going on. In other counties, I don't think they are. And just to put in a plug for VSSA here, that's why we're asking folks, if you're not a member, join so that you can help us find out what's going on in your locality. Because, while I can sit there and search the Internet for what's going on in Board of Supervisors meetings, getting agendas, not every county has their agenda up on the web, and there's 131 localities, and I physically can't watch those all by myself, or our board members can't. So that's why we need members to let us know what's going on, and so we can keep everybody else informed.
All right. Let's see. Before we let you go, Richard in Lexington, Virginia says, I'm in Rockbridge County. We had a noise complaint against our club, Blue Ridge Shooters Club, but no complainers showed up to the last meeting of the Rockbridge County Supervisors. There were only 3. And there are a lot more shooters than complainers. So, Richard, it sounds like you've got things under control in Rockbridge County, but you are, again, getting those complaints. And I guess, David, we're going to keep seeing more and more of this.
I think that's where the battle is in the Commonwealth. It's not in the General Assembly. We haven't had any major gun control bills come up other than just the perennial gun show bill. And with that report that just came out from the University of Michigan, saying that it doesn't contribute to crime or suicide. I think that's one more nail in the coffin for that legislation. But the localities is where the battle is being fought in Virginia, and it's going to continue to be fought, and that's why gun owners need to be active.
All right, David, sir, have a great weekend, and really glad you could be with us on the program tonight.
Have a good weekend.
David Adams, president of the Virginia Shooting Sports Association, with us on Cam and Company.